Welcome to Metro. This is a service to
Strayatrains.
stopping all stations.
Welcome back to Strayatrains. In this video, we're going to take a look at some line generalizations and the type of passengers you'll see on the line. So let's start off in an anti-clockwise manner on the Caulfield group lines. The Packy line. You know you're on the Pakenham line when every second day there is a police request or a vandalised train from Sandown Park onwards. Also, for some reason during peak hour, the trains are just ridiculously crowded and are probably the worst on the network. The Cranny line. You know you're on the Cranbourne line when, well, it's pretty much the same as the Pakenham line. Oh, and congratulations, your line will be the first line to be fully grade separated. Frangers. You know you're on the Frankston line when it just smells weird. Particularly the carriage just smells of smoke. There's also plenty of weird nans going on, and nothing better encapsulates a Frankston service than a stops-all Frankston service on a Commons train. Also, if you do want to go to Stony Point, don't worry. Get off at Frankston Station and it should be a roughly 60 to 90 minute wait for the next service. Oh, and talking about the Caulfield group, how could I forget about the signal fault that pretty much stuffs up at Caulfield Station every second week, suspending trains for the rest of the day. Sandy. You know you're on the Sandringham line when 50% of the passengers on the train have blonde hair. Also, I wonder how many people on the Sandringham line even know what Southern Cross Station is. Alrighty, let's head over to the Burnley group, starting off with the Belgrave line. Whenever it is rainy on the day and there's like a million rail slips, you kind of just feel you're going to derail, so it's probably the scariest ride on the network. Also, Tacoma Station, I mean seriously, it's in the middle of nowhere. Lilydale. Well, regarding the Lilydale line, I'd hate to be an authorised officer. I mean, it can't end too well. Also, whatever goes on at Lilydale Station, it stays at Lilydale Station. Ashe. The Alamein line is so short, I'm going to sum it up in one sentence. You know you're on the Alamein line when you and the driver are the only two people on the entire 3-car Extrapolis train. The Glen line. You know you're on the Glen Waverly line when, well, let's just be honest, the line could pretty much stop all at the city stations and then run express from Richmond to Glen Waverly. I mean, seriously, who uses any of the other stations on the line? Oh, and you better wear your mask because everyone else does. Let's head north to the Clifton Hill group, Hursty. You know you're on the Hurstbridge line when from McLeod onwards you kind of just feel like you're either in a jungle or in some open farmlands, but you just don't feel like you're in Metro Melbourne. Also, for some reason, everyone just uses bikes around the train station, so you probably feel like you're at some bike velodrome or something. And congratulations to the track between Eltham and Hurstbridge because you'll get intertraffic duplication, which means you won't be lonely anymore. And trains might be a little bit more frequent than every 40 minutes in each direction. Epping. South Moran. No, wait, it's Mernda now. You know you're on the Mernda line when it changes its name every few years thanks to line extensions. Also, the typical post-materialist either gets off at Thornbury, Croxton or Northcote stations, and the Mernda line is just full of very modern-looking stations. Northern group time, starting off with the Sunbury line. I'll tell you what, there's never a dull day at Sunshine Station. And yes, the station of Water Gardens is named after the shopping centre instead of it being named after the suburb of Sydenham, so that's pretty confusing considering every second train off peak terminates at the name of a shopping centre. And the highlight of the journey to Sunbury is, of course, going past the retired Commenge at Tottenham Yards. The Upfield line. Pretty much a stock standard line. I mean, nothing too special to it. Probably the funniest thing is indeed how off-peak trains are at a frequency of 20 minutes. And during peak, the frequency is cut down to just 17 minutes, slashing waiting times, said no one ever. On the other hand, the action-packed Cragburn line. Who isn't sick of the signal fault that happens at Broadmeadow Station every so often? I mean, it's just quite annoying. And of course, let's be realistic. If you ever are on a Siemens on the Cragburn line and you're in one of the M cars, you know you're on the Cragburn line when you could easily hear the conversation of someone else on the phone from the opposite M car. I mean, you can't go on the Cragburn line without hearing someone on their phone. Werribee. You know you're on the Werribee line during weekdays when you just never see the Altona loop stations? Also, if you do ever find yourself at Werribee station on a comment, my advice to you is to just make sure no one's burning down the train. Whee! You know you're on the Williamstown line when you only ever go to North Williamstown station. I mean, seriously, everyone just gets off there. No one even uses Williamstown Beach or Williamstown. Also, us train spotters, we only use the Williamstown line just to take a little sneak peek on what's going on at the Newport workshops. The Flemington Racecourse line. If you are heading to the races on this train, you better look like $1,000 because if you don't, oh boy, you're going to stand out on that train. And finally, the City Circle service. It is technically part of the Burnley Group, but runs in the Clifton Hill Loop. Enough said.